Shut up and sit down.
Alright, hello everyone, welcome. It's been a bit, but we are back here on 323 Weekly. So, had to take a week off, just work, real life, etc. But we are back. So I did release ultimately the slide deck I was going to use last week. So that way everyone could see what my tier lists were after week 4. So we are actually going to be building from that tier list. So we don't have 2 weeks of games to make up for with adjustments to the tier list. So we are only, 1 week behind from the last set, which is how we always do it. So with that, nothing really new on the show today. Gonna do our tier list, what to watch for, top 5 plays, and possibly a not top 5. As well as, of course, the simulations. With that, first, Storm Division last week. First game, not at all surprised. Chili Mountain getting the 3 over the other Korean team. The other Korean team's really been struggling. Them and Seton just feel quite a bit behind the rest of Storm Division. Regen, though, getting to 5 games against Team Alexander. Regen has gotten so close to getting big wins a couple of times. Haven't been able to do it yet. They'll have an opportunity to start building something this week as we take a look. I should note, VGM versus Velocity, VGM Gaming versus Velocity was scheduled. It was postponed. And on this channel, twitch.tv, Nexus Gaming Series at 9 tonight is going to be Exodia versus Seton. Exodia, pretty big favorites there. But right now, here is where we were last time. Seton and the other Korean team at the bottom. Team Alexander, VGM, Exodia at the top. What's very relevant here is while I don't have simulations for Storm Division, we can start discussing playoffs a little bit. So let me get my mic just a little bit comfy cozier. There we go. Okay. The way playoffs work in the Storm Division is that the top 4 teams get seeded into the winner's bracket, and 5th and 6th place get seeded into loser's bracket. So 7th and 8th will not make playoffs. And while I don't have a simulator, I can tell you that 7th and 8th very clearly looks like the other Korean team in Seton. And I think the top 4 will hold. Regen, the winner of Regen Velocity this week, which is my match to watch this week, that's going to be on Wednesday at 9. The winner of that could have a chance to get into top 4 if they pull a big upset. I don't particularly view it as likely. I think Alexander's going to be the 1, Chili Mountain will be the 4, VGM the 2, Exodia the 3, and then winner of Regen Velocity be the 5, the loser the 6. That's my expectations. We haven't really seen anything that would be called an upset, given the current standings rankings in Storm Division. So I don't expect that to change. But let's move on to a division that has been very unpredictable. Really, for the first time that I remember in NGS, Heroic has been incredibly difficult to predict. Heroic has typically been the most striated of divisions in NGS, which is to say the top teams are typically so much better, the bottom teams are so much worse, and the middle teams, there's a clear layer of, great teams, good teams, not as good teams, And that hasn't been the case. There's been a lot of upsets. Sarah's Crypto Crew, we haven't really seen them play a lot of games. They have a big game against New Game Plus, which was our match to watch for Week 5, but didn't end up getting played. It got postponed to Tuesday of this week. So it is still our match to watch because that'll be our first chance to see Sarah's Crypto Crew if they are actually as good as I have been placing them. I think New Game Plus will give them a good game. But out of the gate, Brawl is Life versus the Richard team. Great match, 3 games. I did watch that one. Brawler's Life ultimately coming out on top 2-1. Double Paradox, recovering from some pretty bad losses for a bit. Getting the 2-1 over Wild Heart. Archon continuing, now that they've found their rhythm, to play really well. Very dominant 2-0 over Phoenix Rising Ruby. Tonight, Phoenix Rising Topaz versus Yamate Kudasai. I'll be honest, Yamate Kudasai is struggling. I expect Phoenix Rising Topaz to get that win. But we'll see as we move on. Should note, while I have Sero's Crypto Crew up here, still at A tier, and I still have them there, they did actually drop a map to Ripers. That was one of the really big upsets last week. It was not enough for me to move them down a tier yet, simply because they still have quality wins despite that. So I'm keeping them here for now, but certainly if New Game Plus wins this match, you will see the two switch places. Archon and Brawler's Life also looking really good right now. And I still like this Richard team, even though they've had a couple losses. Wild Heart Double Paradox, because of the match between the two, they have to switch places. So Wild Heart dropping down, making way for Double Paradox. Don't have much else to say. Yamate Kudasai still, looking just kind of like they maybe are in the wrong division. Ripers, I thought about moving them up to C with their win over Sarah's Crypto Crew. I really thought about moving them up. And the problem is that the other matches, they've looked a bit outmatched. I need to see something more than once for them to move up. Otherwise, there's a point where I say I think a match was a fluke. And I've said that before and been wrong, but I've also thought a match was a legitimate show of a team strength only for it to be a fluke later. So, here's still my power rankings. Not a lot of movement in Heroic at all. Taking a look at the simulations, you can start to see seeding start to take shape. Not just who's going to make playoffs, but where they're going to be. For example, Archon looking very safely like a 1 or a 2 seed, maybe a 3. It starts to get unusual if they drop down to 4. Sarah's Crypto Crew, Simulator still likes them as a top 3 seed, certainly a top 4. Brawl is Life, same, top 4. New Game Plus, kind of a wider range. I mean, in theory, they could get as high as 1, although that's a bit unusual. But, they could also really realistically finish as low as 6th. The Richards, 3rd through 7th seems to be about the most likely. But as we start getting down the list, and I know this sorting gets a bit weird at this time of the season, because the idea is I sort not just by playoff chance, but by seeding, because it ends up looking nicer at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, but in the middle, it ends up looking a bit wonky. So, for example, notice Team Ripers is above Wildheart, even though they're only a 19% chance to make playoffs. But that's because Ripers has more games remaining, and so they technically have more of an opportunity to climb up the higher seeds, even if it's particularly unlikely. Wildheart, fewer games remaining, now find themselves pretty squarely on the bubble after that loss to Double Paradox. I mean, just do the basic math here. If these 5 teams are safe, and you throw in the 2 Phoenix Rising teams, there's only 1 lifeboat for Double Paradox and Wildheart to get into playoffs. Ripers, meanwhile, helped themselves out with that win over CCC. If they didn't have that win a couple weeks ago, they'd be a long shot right now, but that really improved their chances. So we'll see where this goes. A West actually starting to finally play some flex matches. A West has played almost no flex matches, and they have, individually on a per-team basis, each team has more flex matches than any other division. So there's a ton of uncertainty left in this division, and there's actually a ton of uncertainty in this division about where the teams actually go. Forge the winning condition, got the 2-1 over Regen Retro. Regen Retro beat Baby Makers 2-1. Baby Makers beat Forge the winning condition 2-0. So there you have a triangle. Minion Miners, we haven't seen them a lot. They've only played 4 matches. They dropped 1 to Baby Makers, but it's close. They're actually, I would say, playing better than I expected, even though they lost that. Fox and his carries and Running Wild continue to struggle, but Fancy Flightless Fowl is the climbing team right now in A West. They are really surging at the right time in the season. They got the win over Regen Retro last week. Granted, they had 2 easier matches this week in Fox and his carries and in Running Wild. They needed to get 2-0s, but they did. Now they're setting themselves up, I think, to make this a pretty interesting late season. There are 4 playoff spots for A West, given that's a smaller division. That means, and I'm moving Fox and his carries down, they just continue to struggle. I'm going to move Fancy Flightless Fowl up. They got the win over Regen Retro. They have been doing better. You're now talking about 5 teams competing for 4 playoff spots. So which of these gets left out? It's not entirely clear. By the way, Minion Miners really should move up to A. While they did lose to Baby Makers, I've kind of been undervaluing them. But I really think from Baby Makers to Fancy Flightless Fowl, this is a really tight group. And it's, you know, if you ask me at the beginning of the season, easy. Fancy Flightless Fowl, they're the 5th team. They're going to get left out. But they're surging at the right time. They're starting to win games. They're playing a lot better. So keep an eye out for them. They might get into playoffs. They might steal a spot. And in fact, Simulator has them, while on the bubble, not too far behind Regen Retro. Simulator still really liking Minion Miners, not as much as Baby Makers these days. Baby Makers is right now the favorite to be the 1 seed, which, given their win over Forge the Winning Condition and Minion Miners, helps them out. They do have that 1-2 loss to Regen Retro, but they have a chance to get it back in the reverse fixture. Unfortunately, Wildheart, I don't know if this is a mathematical elimination from the playoffs effectively. One thing I say when I'm talking about simulations is that 0% is not necessarily 0%, and 100% is not necessarily 100%. By which I mean, it could be possible. There could be a mathematical chance for Running Wild to make playoffs, but it is beyond a long shot at this point. They would need to win out, and I don't think they've won a single map yet, unfortunately. Fox and his carries also greatly struggling. Still, A West, keep an eye on this. I especially fancy Flightless Fowl. When it first started, I'm like, oh wow, Forza Winning Condition. I saw their first game. They looked dominant because I had high opinion of Fox and his carries. That hasn't held up under scrutiny. I thought Minion Miners would struggle. They've been doing fairly well, though they haven't played Forge the Winning Condition yet. I don't think they've played Regen Retro either. So we'll see where this goes. It's going to be an interesting division. Heroic A West, both very competitive. A East is insane right now. Let's go ahead and turn our attention there. A East, Beefy Boys getting the win over THC. So the rule is whoever I move up to A loses. And this has happened multiple times now. But whoever I move up to A loses. And so THC unfortunately got the kiss of death this week. I moved them up to A, thus setting them up for their loss to Beefy Boys. Gilly Shark 2 over Regen Phoenix. Wholesome Halfwits actually getting a game off Caffeinated Knights. Caffeinated Knights, the lone S tier team right now. Wholesome Halfwits, the lone E tier team. But nonetheless, they got a map win. They still don't have a match win, though, and unfortunately, that window of opportunity is closing, and I don't see it happening. Tricky Goose's 2-1 upset over Roomba Rotations, who now find themselves struggling after climbing pretty high up. The Careless Badgers 2 over Tiny Dancers, also a struggling team. Party Time is going to be dropping this match to Gilly Shark 2-0, so a good week for Gilly Shark. They get the 4-0. Which, you know what that means? They move up to Tier A, and they're going to lose this week. So that's how it works here. So, as we mentioned, Gilly Shark is going to move up to Tier A. I got to pull up my notes because there's just a lot of movement here in A East. And again, it's such a competitive division. So, I did drop THC down. I did drop Party Time down. I did drop Tiny Dancers and Regen Phoenix down. I believe, if I remember, Tiny Dancers beat Regen Phoenix, but I'm not certain of this. Just given current situations... I also dropped Roomba down, and I moved Beefy Boys up, or Beef Boys. Here's where I'm at. I should note, by the way, while Caffeinated Nights, I have them at S tier. Caffeinated Nights has dropped maps. They've dropped one map to Wholesome Halfwits, to TCB. I believe they dropped the map to Tiny Dancers, I want to say. They've dropped 3 maps. So they are not some, deity that is running away with A East. They're very vulnerable. But the problem is all these teams have been beating up on each other so much. I actually made a graph of all the wins and losses in between like these teams, all the ones between A and D, and I did a topographical sort with a bunch of different factors at play to try to figure out like how I'm going to seed this. I will say that A East from S to D is by far the tightest division right now. The gap from S to D is the gap from from A to C in most divisions. It's an incredibly tight division, so things could change wildly. And you take a look at the simulation, it's still rather unpredictable who even is going to make playoffs. There's currently 5 favorites, although Roomba rotation kind of teetering on the edge of safe bet. They're at about just below a 95%. Generally, I call 90% and above a safe bet. Party Time, despite their losses recently, they've gotten enough wins that like every time I start to lose faith, they start winning. And then once I gain faith, they start losing. And they're kind of swinging back and forth, but they're staying in playoff territory. Considered likely to make it, albeit as a bottom 4 seed. Triggy Gooses surging late. They struggled mightily at the beginning of the season, but they're playing a lot better now. That win over Roomba rotation significantly increasing their chances from that of a bubble team to that of a probable team. Beefy Boys, another inconsistent team, although it's hard to say it's inconsistent. I think A East is just this competitive. But the concern right now is Regen Phoenix appears to continue to be falling off. They're now no longer on a bubble team even. They've dropped to improbable about 30%. Tiny Dancers find themselves a sub 50%. But going back to the tier list, I should note the Tiny Dancers has a chance to get a big win against Beefy Boys, or Beef Boys. They're just Beef Boys, even though their ticker symbol is Beefy. But in either case, I'm actually casting this game tonight at 9. That's on my usual Twitch channel, so twitch.tv/dbsmiley. Cough, cough, self-promotion. Not at 9, at 8. Actually, as soon as I wrap this up, I'm moving over there. There has been no chat action, by the way. I know it's just Beef Boys, but like, I keep wanting to say Beefy Boys because every time I see your ticker symbol, because what I go through and I fill out my table to run my simulator, and your thing is Beefy, and it just breaks my brain. Anyway, just wait for B West. B West was incredibly unexciting this last week, actually. Although, in fairness, the one match that was interesting wasn't reported. So, Anyway, B West, here we go. So we have an unreported result between Phoenix Rising Emerald and Spooky Ghosts. Lurk Patrol got the 2-1 over Soak Every Lane. Soak Every Lane has shown the ability to get one map. They haven't really been getting these wins. Bronze 6, 2-0 over Arrogant Nephilim, who just continues the struggle. I now have doubts about them making playoffs. Better Than Bots, 2-0 over Wind Train, not a surprise. Uwu, 2-0 over Cosmos. I don't know what happened here. I was told Spooky Ghost won. I don't know if it's a 2-0 or a 2-1, so my simulator doesn't take it into account. If it has been reported, it wasn't reported when I was putting this slide deck together. But of course, the big match to watch. I've been waiting for it since after week 1 when I'm like... Because heading in week 0, I put Uwu at C. Not because I thought they were a C team, but because I have no clue where to put them. I'm going to put them near the middle. And, like, as soon as I saw them once, I'm like, all right, Uwu is a great team. And I moved them up to A right away. And since that point, the thought has been, Lurk Patrol versus Uwu. What's going to happen in that match? Well, we're going to find out. Jazzaline casting this match Tuesday at 10 Eastern. Do not miss it. This isn't just my map of B West to watch, or my match of B West to watch, what to watch for. This is like, I think, one of the biggest games of the week in all of NGS across all divisions. I really think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't check this one out. It should be a lot of fun. Both teams really show these kind of, they show a lot of very strong niche play. Things that are really good drafts put together, synergize well, get blow-ups. The winner of this is very probably moving up to S, although I should note, Better Than Bots did beat Uwu earlier. But still, you know, really good teams. Should be fun to watch. Outside of that, though, I'm going to assume that what I heard was correct, that Spooky Ghost did beat Phoenix Rising. If that's the case... Oh, I can't curse... Well, Gilly, I hate to tell you, but my curse lasts longer than a week. Ask Roomba rotations. Ask Tiny Dancers. My curse lasts more than 1 week. The rest of your CNZ season is not going to be fun for you. All right. So that's assuming that what I was told was correct, that Spooky Ghost did beat Phoenix Rising Emerald. Yeah, sorry, Ektar will not be watching the match. That is correct. B6 to A or Riot. So, here's the thing. Riot all you want. I do think B6 is a good team, and I think they absolutely could move up to A once they get a really impressive win. But for the most part, they've kind of just dumpstered C and D teams. It's not enough to move them up to A. Again, though, you know, they don't pick their schedule. They don't pick when they play the good teams. But I'm hesitant until I see a reason to change. So that's actually my only change this week, because otherwise, no real upsets. BSE Simulations. So, not surprisingly, Lurk Patrol, Uwu are Better Than Bots. One of them, very, very probably, is going to be the 1 seed. Yeah, but unfortunately for B6, New Game Plus is not in B West. Sorry. From there, so it looks like the top 4 seeds very probably are Lurk Patrol, Uwu, Better Than Bots, and then B6. My simulator still likes PRE better than I do. Cosmos, fairly safely in the playoffs, but likely a bottom 4 seed. Same for Soak Every Lane. From there, you're looking at Phoenix Rising Emerald. Again, this simulator doesn't include the result from Spooky Ghost Phoenix Rising Emerald because it wasn't reported in time. So right now, Spooky Ghost is bubble. Phoenix Rising Emerald's probable. That could probably switch places. Arrogant Nephilim's still in the bubble, and you look at the math again. These 6 teams probably all going to get playoff spots. Which 2 advance? Phoenix Rising Emerald, Spooky Ghost, or Arrogant Nephilim? We'll see. We'll see. Wait, did I still have Arrogant Nephilim up here? I actually did mean to move Arrogant Nephilim. Did I mean to move them down? I can't. I think I'm not crazy. Arrogant Nephilim beat Phoenix Rising Emerald, I think. I can't recall. It's been so long since I've done this live. I apologize. I'll go back, and if I have a reason, I'll move Arrogant Nephilim down. For now, they'll stay. Roll 1, the win train. Sorry, very long shots at this point. Heading over to my division, B Northeast. Boogan Forever gets back on track, 2-1 over Animaniacs. Deckard's Erudition continues to impress. They have just found a different gear in the last couple weeks. They kicked it off with a 2-0 victory over Death and Delay and really just styled on Regen Ghost. Very dominant 2-0. Another team that came out of nowhere and is all of a sudden just looking so improved, Die Gaming. Die Gaming currently sitting at 2-0. 2-0 over Scalding Sweat Cult. I say currently sitting. The match is over. They get the 2-0 victory over Scalding Sweat Cult, a team that I still had in A tier. Strange Team Comp continues to struggle. Legal gets the win 2-0. And Death and Delay gets back on track after the loss of Deckard. they take it out on Lu Bu. So with that, as I mentioned, B East, there is a circle of suck. The only team not included is Strange Team Comp because they haven't gotten a match win yet. Everyone else fits into a circle. Death of Delay lost to Deckards, who lost to Legal, who lost to, so on. But to that end, Deckards is just looking substantially better right now, and I'm moving them back up to A. Yes, they started the season rough, but I actually think this is warranted. They're looking really good right now, and I think Die Gaming, I'm going to move them up to B. And Animaniacs, that lost to Boogans, I'm going to move them down to C. And so the way I think of this is this. These 5 teams, all very likely to make the playoffs. Regen Ghost has been struggling. They are going to drop down to D, and the reason will be clear when we get to the playoff simulation. They've really been struggling of late, and they're currently an outsider to make playoffs. Game this week to watch. Does Die Gaming continue to improve? Can Lu Bu climb back up into the top half? We'll see. Hasn't been scheduled yet. Keep an eye out for that one. There's also Legal versus Die Game, or Legal versus Scalding Sweat Cult. But I didn't want to put that as what to watch for because I'm on Legal, so that, pardon me, seems self-effacing. Anyway, Death and Delay still the favorite for the 1 seed. Legal, my simulator likes us to be top 2, maybe falling to 3. Deckards Erudition climbed from being like a roughly 6th seed team to now their most probable seed is 3 or 4. Scalding Sweat Cult, though, now falling kind of more into that 4 to 6 range with their losses to Boogan Forever and now to Die Gaming. They're going to look to recover. Of course, if they beat us, which given that I put my team at A tier is probable to happen, that certainly can stop the skid. Die Gaming, another team climbing, looking in that 4 to 6 window. Could climb up as high as a 3. They have been playing a lot better than they looked the first week. And then Lu Bu, currently most probable to be the 8th seed. But of course, a win over Die Gaming would cure that. Animaniacs also safely in playoffs. Really, it comes down to with Regen Ghost, they're going to need to start winning some matches. They're also going to need Lu Bu to lose. Really, if you're on Regen Ghost, root against Lu Bu right now. Strange Team Comp, or Team Strange Comp is their logo. Their logo is Team Strange Comp. Their name is STC. I don't know what to do with that. Point is, they're continuing to struggle. They won a map week 1 against Boogans Forever and haven't been in the winner's circle since. So it may be a bit of a retool after this season for them. B Southeast saw a very, very important departure last week. Two Calculated to Throw, who was expected to make playoffs, was pretty safely in playoffs, has withdrawn. And as a result of that, the 9-team, or the 10-team B Southeast is now only 9 teams, which means only 1 team doesn't make playoff. It has dramatically changed the playoff picture. So first, Beyond Gaming had some issues, weren't able to get to their match with Phoenix Rising Diamond. So that's going to be a 2-0 for Diamond. I should note, I do not include forfeits in ELO calculation. So while the forfeit works against them from a standpoint of it's a loss, it doesn't change their ELO since the match wasn't played. They're not a worse team because they forfeit. Hollow Wife Gaming Cat Girls gets the 2-0 over Regen Anomaly. Not a surprise. Probius put up the best fight against Deathweb we've seen this season. And Deathweb, by the way, has played, really when you look at the next several teams up in B Southeast, Deathweb clearly the favorite right now. They've now played HGC amateur opponents and Probius, who I consider the next 3 teams up. My simulator, by the way, doesn't agree with me on that. But Deathweb looking really good right now. And Bancho getting the 2-0 over ZZZ. So, how has the playoff picture changed? Well, first, we do have to say goodbye to 2 Calculated to Throw. As a result of this, so my thought on the E tier always was, this is a team that does not have a chance to make playoffs. And I put the team down there when I think they don't have a chance to make playoffs. Well, ZZZ now has a chance to make playoffs. And we'll talk about that in a second. Phoenix Rising Diamond has beaten both Beyond Gaming and Probius. I'm not willing to move them up to A yet. I thought about it, but I'm not willing to do it. I also thought about moving Probius up, because Probius did hang around with Deathweb. But Probius also lost to Phoenix Rising Diamond. My simulator, for whatever reason, really doesn't like amateur opponents, by the way. And I don't know why. I think it's maybe because they lost to Deathweb early. But in either case, I still think they're a really good team. We'll see. So beyond that move, I'm not changing anything in Southeast yet. However, I'm very, very, very interested to see what happens when HGC plays against Probius this week. That is actually tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern. When I last checked, no caster available. But we do have some other matches to keep an eye on. Now, why did I move ZZZ up even though they continue to be winless? It's because either ZZZ or RGA goes to the playoffs. Both teams have been losing a lot. Both RGA and ZZZ losing quite a bit. They both have admitted to memeing. But despite this, one of them is going to playoffs. They'll be the 8th seed. They'll probably lose to Deathweb after that. But they are going. So whoever wins that game probably goes to playoffs. For now, if I had to put my money on, I'd say RGA. But we'll see. Anyway, Simulator still really likes Phoenix Rising Diamond and Probius more than I do. I have them both, of course, at B tier. It's warming up to HGC, still rather low. It considers amateur opponent a very likely 5 or 6 seed. I don't really agree with that. Beyond Gaming, there's a ton of uncertainty because we just haven't really seen them yet. And the forfeit didn't really help that. We still don't really know their power level. I'm keeping an eye most on Phoenix Rising Diamond and Probius to see what they do as they start to play, especially HGC and amateur opponent. But we'll see. We'll see. So, kind of a crazy division, especially after the dropout of 2 calculated to throw. It took out one of the mid-tier teams in the division, so it makes it a bit more spread out. All right, dropping down C West. I got to move through this bit quickly because I got to be done by 8 o'clock. GG continues to dominate 2-0 over Essence Gaming. Didn't look close. Bloodbath and Beyond getting the 2-0 over Can't Create Acronyms. Randy Newman upset by the internet. Randy Newman's never been the same since the internet came around. Yeah, he did Toy Story, and then what? What has Randy Newman done? No one knows. Some say Randy Newman never even existed. That he was just a figment of our imagination. In either case, they do lose 2-1 to AOL. AOL, a very inconsistent team, but has shown the ability to get wins off good teams occasionally. Can't Counter McStupid dropping 1 to Artemis. Artemis starting to get better as the season goes on. Resurgence of the Storm 2-1 over Respect the Goose. Team Maroon continues to struggle with TRSG getting the 2-0. So now, I do need to move Maroon down to E. I didn't have their result with Respect the Goose last time, but they did lose Respect the Goose. They're down in E territory right now. Hang on, let me... 1 sec here. So just checking my notes because there was a lot I did in C West. I think there were 4 moves. So first, even though Randy Newman lost to AOL, the fact is they have been beating good teams by a lot. They're still really good. It's not enough for me to move them down from A. It is enough for me to move AOL up, but it's not enough for me to remove Randy Newman down. But now I find myself in a quandary because GG hasn't played Randy Newman, but has been dumpstering its competition, including AOL. That means GG going to be the first S tier team in Division C East or C West. So right now, I mean, if I were to say, if you asked me, I'd say Division C finals were Nexus Cats versus GG. That's where I'm at. From there, Resurgent or Essence Gaming, they're dropping down to D. They've really just been struggling in a big way. I've been kind of, I thought they were an okay C team last season, kind of lower mid tier. I thought they'd be able to climb with the division a bit weaker, and they've really not shown that. CCS moves down with their loss to Artemis. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And so, currently, here's where I'm standing. C West, a big division, 12-team division. And so, this means more teams will not make playoffs in C West than any other division. That's an interesting fact. You can take it home with you. In either case, oops, I actually forgot to update. So before Team Maroon had a logo, I just used the color maroon, but I will use their actual logo. In either case, they are really beyond a long shot at this point, sitting at 0.1%. Their season, as far as looking for the playoffs, is effectively over. It's not realistic they make playoffs at this point. Essence Gaming, though, only 15%. If you would have told me Essence Gaming would be like they could be eliminated after this week, and if you told me that, I would have been really surprised. I expected Essence Gaming to be not necessarily top 4, but I would have maybe seen them in 4th place. I've just been really surprised by that. Can't create acronyms. Also, another roster I was big on heading in to the start of C West, and they have just not lived up to that level of expectation. Respect the Goose, still hanging around as a potential playoff team, but you look at it, you got 4 teams that are safe bets, got 3 teams that are probable, CCS still hanging on there. Assuming these 7 make playoffs, you're only looking at either one of Artemis or Respect the Goose making. That said, because of how big this division is, you're seeing a lot of parity here. You're not seeing the big clumps at safe bets and long shots. So, credit C West. It has been fairly nicely competitive. All right, now moving on to C East. House of Shez 2-0 over Durriton's Couch. House of Shez started the season a bit weak. They are recovering nicely. Team that has started the season weak and has not recovered. Your math teachers, a team I was very, very confident about having a good season after the way they finished in Division D last season with the championship. They have not been the same team. Now losing 2-0 to Protectors of Ire, a team that I had rather low in my expectations and still low. Zul'jin Distillery has hit a bit of a rough patch. They were doing well. They got all the way up to A tier. Now dropping another match. Limit Break. Limit Break's a good team, but still not going to be happy with that continued slide. They are 1-5 on maps, or 1-6 on maps over their last 3 matches, as their seeding has slipped considerably. And Bunker Fun Time getting another 2-0 victory, quietly moving back up the stands after that loss to Phoenix Rising Citrine earlier, kind of setting them back a bit. So I got to do it. And I again, this was a team I had up at A to start the season. They got to come down to D. Not happy about doing it, but that's got to be the way it is right now. From there, I'm actually not... XGD did lose the Limit Break, so I'm going to swap places. XGD did beat Bunker Fun Time. It was their last win, and it looked rather convincing. And so, I'm going to leave this here. Not a lot of shifting. C East had a ton of matches played. Not in the last week, but for the show the week before, for the end of week 4 show. Played a lot of flex matches in that. Still hasn't happened. Your math teachers, though, they are now finding themselves in dire shape. Only a 15% chance to make playoffs. And that's got to start by winning matches now. I mean, they at least need to take a map off Phoenix Rising Citrine, if only just to start building confidence back up. Meanwhile, Nexus Cats, prohibitive 90% favorite to be the 1 seed. Really, really strong season from them. They really do look better than all the other teams by a fair margin. XGD struggling. They're dropping to a 6-7 seed right now. They were like a 2 or a 3 seed not long ago, a couple weeks ago. House of Shez, though, quietly building their reputation back up. Now a 3-5 range. So it's going to be interesting, but you look at the playoff seeding, I think it's going to be these 8 teams. I really do. You know, this team, Protector of the Ire, was a bubble team, but then they beat your math teachers 2-0. And when it comes down to it, getting those wins over potential tiebreaker situations really improves your odds. All right, D-West. D-West had a lot of games played this week. Regen Divine. I know there are some people here from Regen Divine who were pretty excited to watch. Had we'll say an okay week. We'll say they did all right. Beat Nerf the Smurfs, which was in B. Then they beat Knights That Stay Bronze, which was A. And they looked really good in both series. So, let's take you back to the beginning of the season. Regen Divine was a team that my simulator liked, but I didn't really like them when I first watched. And I did watch them, and they didn't look that great. They have improved considerably in a short time. I watched their last match that was able to be watched. Looked really dominant. Looked like they just controlled every single element of that match. They're looking good. They're looking like a team that can challenge for D-West. So they're moving up considerably. Nerf the Smurfs did get the win over TRSG Knights to salvage their week. Knights to Stay Bronze, however, that was their only match of the week. They did drop, unreported. No, they also lost to We're Scaling 1-2. So Knights to Stay Bronze also struggling. I think, by the way, this has been reported since. But anyway, TRSG Knights getting the win over 9 Avatar. So 9 Avatar are going to drop down to the E tier. Forfeit by Yavapai. They've not been having the season I think they expected to have. Puns Upon a Time, another one of those teams that's really improved. Clouded Minds had a big upset loss last week. Almost got it back this week. Had an opportunity against Connect Stuns, but weren't able to close it out. Still a good week to show improvement for them. And Lightly Salted getting the upset over Cool Cats and Kittens, who had been having a pretty good season up till this point. So, D-West, one of those divisions that's really chaotic. I still have a lot of hard time kind of placing where the power levels are. I spend probably more time on D-West doing power rankings each week than almost any other div, and maybe more than several other divs combined. They are unpredictable, but I can tell you one thing. Regen Divine does the double jump. They're up at A. Cool Cats and Kittens, Lightly Salted, they're on the same tier. Knights to Stay Bronze. No, I'm keeping them here, that's right. Nerf the Smurf does move down. They did get the win over TRSG Knights, but I don't think TRSG Knights is particularly good. 9 Avatara, they drop down to E. And I'm going to move Clouded Minds and Puns Upon a Time back up. Now, again, Clouded Minds had that pretty bad loss to Nerf the Smurfs, but I think that is more a fluke. So here's where I'm at in D-West. Now, you look at what this means for playoffs. We got 8 teams B and above. So are those the 8 teams that my simulator likes to make playoffs? Well, yes, it is. Top 5 are safe bets. Can't Connect Stuns is actually a fairly prohibitive favorite for the 1 seed. Clouded Minds, Puns Upon a Time, Cool Cats and Kittens, Regen Divine, all fairly safely in. We're talking 98% and above. From there, you got 3 teams that are in that probable group, 70%, 70 to 77. We're Scaling, Lightly Salted, Knights to Stay Bronze. Nerf the Smurf has a chance. What's interesting is they're actually favored to make playoffs, even though they're 9th. And the reason for that is just, they only need one of these three teams to fall off to take their spot. So it's a bit of an interesting math trick. On the other hand, Yavapai has dropped to a 21% chance, 22%. 9 Avatara practically eliminated. TRSG Knights was already in fairly dire straits to begin with. So here's where we're at. So again, those power rankings. Match to watch, Puns Upon a Time versus Regen. That's casted by Arrow, the other bald caster. Actually, no, there's also Bahamut. Bahamut's the bald caster. Arrow's the other bald caster. I'm the other bald caster. So it's fine. But that's a big match. That's a really big match. Big seeding implications on the line. Congrats to Jays on that team. That team has really been improving very quickly. So very much congratulations on that accomplishment. D East. Big match. Frankfurters, they get the win over Bad Matchmaker. Continue to have a good season. Hot Potato continues to look dominant. Starting to look like maybe they, in hindsight, and again, this is not at all to put anything on the placement committee. We had no info on Hot Potatoes, the new team. Very hard to place them, but maybe should have been in C in hindsight. They're having a really good season, though. 2-0 over Rise and Grind. Team Banshee gets the 2-0 over Psy Storm. Not big surprise there. IMF 2-0 over PRO. And that's kind of getting us to our rankings. So here's where we were. And the top line really hasn't changed. In fact, nothing has changed. I literally am not moving a single team. And the reason for that, first, Council of Mages did withdraw. They withdrew last week, but we didn't have the show last week. These three teams are just not making playoffs right now. It just doesn't seem like that's probable. So these top 8 very probably making playoffs. From there, Hot Potato, I almost moved them up to S because they're looking that good, but I'm willing to wait and see what happens with Frankfurters. The winner of this certainly moves up to S. But from there, I'm actually pretty happy with how this is shaking out insofar as the results. Take a look. Again, like I said, the top 8 top 7 very, very favored. There's going to be 1 seed left for the 3 teams in the lower end to get Psy Storm, Phoenix Rising, Onyx. 1 more fight. 1 seed between the 3 of them, but I don't suspect that 2 of these teams are moving up. I think only 1 of these makes playoffs, and you'll see these 7 teams here. Hot Potato, a prohibitive favorite at the moment to be the 1 seed, and I don't suspect that will change. But yeah, I mean, it was an unpredictable. Keep in mind, heading in, I really was big on 1 more fight based on their results in some off-season tournaments. They haven't lived up to the hype. IMF has actually exceeded my expectations, even though they're still in that C-tier range. They've done pretty well. Bad Matchmaker dramatically exceeded my expectations. I did not think they were a D team, and they've proven me wrong handedly. Currently, though, they are in that 6-7 seeding range, so we'll have a tough hoe to row when it comes to playoffs potentially. Finally, Division E. 6 matches were played. Ice Crown Citadel Knights getting the 2-1 over PRA. I love that their ticker name is Ick. Bull Moose Party did get a map off the Devil's Rejects. I forgot to update the Devil's Rejects logo. Sorry about that. When we get to the next slide. The Baddest Dudes looked really good against Poseidon, but I gotta say that FC Hong Kong, Team of the Week, they are another one of those teams that they started. They had a loss early, and they have just looked better and better and better since. Rapidly improving. Obviously, we got to talk about their 2-1 victory over FF and the Pancakes. That was huge. 2-0 victory over Baddest Dudes looked really clean. Core Bouncers getting the 2 over PRA. Not really an impressive win, but they still got it. There was a delayed Week 5 match that will be next week. Core Bouncers versus Fredonia. That match actually now looking really important. As I'm actually going to take us through the tier rankings. Notice Fredonia, Core Bouncers, both on this C line. So, what are we going to move in Division E? Well, I'm going to start by moving FC Hong Kong right up here to A. And I'm going to stop. That's all I have. Not really any upsets. I think PRA, is rightly in the E tier. Poseidon might move down to E. But I'm kind of giving them one last chance to maybe put a win together. But otherwise, I'm happy with where I'm at here. Taking a look at the simulations, similar to what we saw in D East, there's 7 pretty prohibitive favorites. It's going to be Illa Dancing Queens, FF and the Pancakes, Baddest Dudes, FC Hong Kong, Fredonia, Core Bouncer, and Devil's Rejects. All very, very probably making playoffs. Looks like the last slot at the moment is looking like Ice Crown Citadel Knights. Maybe if Bull Moose Party starts pulling some upsets, they could climb. But Poseidon and Phoenix Rising Amethyst are, unfortunately just not finding any success right now. And I don't expect that to change. So, that is your division rundown for the week. Now, let's head into top 5 plays. But we're going to start with a not top 5 play. So I should note, again, as a reminder, submit your play of games to the NGS website. You can submit YouTube videos. If you don't have a caster, you can record, cut out a snippet, upload it to YouTube. That can be your play of the game. But submit plays of the game. That's the only way this top 5 works. I had 9 highlights this week. 9. You literally had a better than coin flip chance of making top 5 if you submitted a play of the game. So, NGS, I'm looking at you here. I want you to know I'm looking at you. Submit your play of the games. Submit them. I needs them. All right. So with that, we're going to start with actually something I haven't done before. This was submitted as a play of the game, but it was not a play of the game. It was instead a not top 5. So we're going to start there, and the quote is titled, "This is sketchy AF." Hang on, I got to get queued up here. Quote is titled, "This is sketchy AF. Enjoy."
That's a boss heading straight for core. Diablo is going to be up in 10 seconds. They don't have their minions with them. Colonel Pants calling this out. This is sketchy AF. But they might think this is their chance. Stark says, good luck, have fun. Veggies is online. Chess clue very low. Making a play onto Ekeb. Colonel Pan's doing some work here, but it is the party time core that is being melted by this boss, and that is a big with balls play, I will say. But yeah, that was a sketchy call, but
all right, that was our not top 5. First time I've had one of those. Maybe I start making it a thing. Maybe I start perusing the highlights channel for funny stuff. But next one. This is number 5, Poseidon versus Baddest Dudes, casted by Viper. And this is Tyranda's recruiting mission for Hogwarts. Enjoy.
Both teams are taking their siege camp right now. Great. Oh my, that was fantastic. To Tyranda getting that owl on to the Ragnaros, and Ragnaros falling to the camp. Well done. And the Tyranda going for another snipe onto that Tychus. Oh, wow. Mad Kaiser going off right now.
All right. That was number 5, Tyranda getting the double kill with the owls. Number 4, you can't just solo core. Haha, Sledgehammer go burr. Enjoy.
That will be a nice single target mosh. And Regen Phoenix, losing some core health here. Losing a lot of core health, actually, right now. Looks like Veggies. Are we serious right now, Veggies? Is this the game plan? Just launch a Stormbolt into the enemy core and just end game. Rainer's actually dealing with the minions. They're not dealing with the Muradin. And here's the thing: look at the Stormbolt into the core actually deals so much damage. This is what this is it. This is Veggies literally soloing the core with Sledgehammer. GG, well played.
All right, that was number 4. That was casted by the one, the only Bahamut. Gilly Shark versus Regen Phoenix. Gilly Shark winning that series 2-0. Number 3. Big VP if you can get it. Here we go.
Or the
VP. Same shit.
VP.
Oh, that's big VP if you get it.
Oh my gosh. I saw VP.
You just wiped in here.
Alright. Just hard push, more buckle soak in top.
All right, and I should note, that was not casted. That was a point of view stream from Paper Tanks, so you can submit point of view streams. You can clip those and submit those as top 5. So that was number 3. That was Baby Makers playing against Running Wild and A West. Paper Tanks for Baby Makers on the voice there. Next one, also a point of view stream. I call this one Everyone Die for the Boss. I'm going to cut this out, sound at a certain point, because I've been asked not to swear on the official NGS channel. So I'm going to do my best to remove the obscenity coming up here. But Everyone Die for Boss. Here we go.
Oh my god, on l'a pas. C'est bon, on gagne ça, on gagne ça. C'est moche?
Nice job, nice freaking
On pogne la
mush.
map.
All right, and that was a great boss capture there by Limit Break as they won the series against Zul'jin Distillery 2-0. That was a point of view stream from Ewok for Limit Break. And finally, the play of the week comes to us from B Northeast once again, and it is Deckard's Erudition versus Regen Ghost. And I'm just going to let you watch this because watch the bunker. Watch the bunker.
So far, Greymane getting flipped. Xantharium, they're going to be put into the bunker, and it's Lucio going down first. Mephisto popping off here with so much damage out of this. And Cassius is the next. Diablo going down. Shui going down. Tassadar going down. It is a full team wipe. And Deckard's Erudition now saying, all right, these...
All right, and that was Deckard's Erudition polishing off game 1 against Regen Ghost. Big 5-man team wipe. That was your number 1 play of the week. You think you did better? I guess you should have submitted a play of the game. Definitely get your plays of the game in, everyone. But with that, that is our show for the week. I want to thank everyone who's come out to watch, to enjoy this little thing. Hopefully you get some enjoyment out of it. I will see everyone next week, hopefully with some more top 5 plays, some more simulations. As next week, after week 6, we start our playoff breakdowns. We stop with that simple, safe bets, long shots, to what are the playoff brackets going to actually look like, and who is going to be the favorite in division. We'll see you next week for that. Thank you all so much for watching. This is DB Smiley, out.